Hello there, I'm MountPain27, and this is Dean of Doom, the show where we give grades to classic and contemporary Doom wads. Why? Because ranking things is fun, of course. Today's episode and this season's finale will be dedicated to TNT Revilution, the long-awaited unofficial sequel to my favorite half of Final Doom. It was released in 2017 and won Doomworld's Mordeth award that year, a distinction given to the wad with the longest development time, in this case almost a decade. TNT Revilution's tempestuous production history is beyond the scope of this video, but it's worth noting two things. One, the megawad evilved, if you will, from a different TNT2 project known as Devilution, which remains unfinished, and two, a member of the old TeamTNT, Jeremy Doyle, contributed music to Revilution. You know Doom is something special when you see the same faces coming back to it even 20 years later. TNT Revilution was one of my earliest forays into custom megawads. I initially decided to play it because it was the sequel to my favorite commercial megawad, but I quickly discovered that Revilution was more than just a TNT imitation. It was a passionate disciple that came to surpass its master. I had a lot more fun replaying this megawad than I expected to, and I think you'll agree that it's a near-perfect bookend to the season. Before we dive in, here's how the show works. We give each level in the wad 2 grades, one for quality and one for difficulty. We grade quality from A to F and difficulty from X to E. X for extreme, E for easy, and A through D in between. A grade A level is fun, memorable, visually distinctive, creative, and a fair challenge. Lower grades indicate the level lacks some or all of these qualities. Bear in mind that I'm a writer who plays Doom, not a player who writes, and these reviews are totally subjective, so our definitions of difficulty and great map design will surely differ. Disagreeing is part of the fun, after all. At the end of the day, this show is about spreading the joy of Doom, so as always, let's do so. For the new viewers in the audience, here are the rules. 1. We play on ultraviolence. 2. We play each level from a pistol start. 3. In order to review a wad, I must have played it at least twice. 4. Saves are allowed, but discouraged. And 5. I go for 100% kills in all levels, making exceptions in cases where it's just not worth it. I play on Z-Doom with compatibility settings on strict. Now, to the wad. Map 1, Uprising. As the first notes of Into the Beast's Belly came belting through my speakers, I remember a fiendish smile breaking across my face, which only widened when I saw the berserk waiting for me. Uprising packs all kinds of aggression. The frantic opening fisticuffs hits first, but poke around the level some more and you'll find a few surprises. The blue key fight is a major wake-up call for those expecting a tepid opener, and this archvile, who I didn't even meet in my first playthrough, is sure to send a zing through your system. I don't think I'm going to say this correctly, but S1E20? Good job. Uprising is a ringer. Grade A, difficulty D. Map 2, Geothermal. Rugged, rough, and ready, Geothermal sees things starting to heat up. 8079's combat is rock solid, a cut above your standard level 2 coddling, applying constant pressure without ever smothering the player. The map culminates in a mini ambush with hit scanners and archviles that thankfully looks harder than it actually is. I'm not fond of the lava floors because some of them are mandatory to walk on, and the map doesn't give you a radiation suit. Honestly, what'll hook you most in Geothermal is the music, courtesy of TeamTNT OG Jeremy Doyle. TNT Revilution's off to a great start, but it's just warming up. All puns very much intended. Grade B+, difficulty D. Map 3, Access Denied. I've never liked this map, despite its lack of glaring faults. Though not without imagination and technically sound, Access Denied is overlong and forgettable, a tech base without a calling card. I always feel like I'm missing enemies and or obvious secrets, and there's a strange lack of urgency in the whole thing. This room with the rising stairs is okay, but the rest of the level feels like mapping for mapping's sake. Grade B-, difficulty D-. Map 4, Blood Factory. Apparently Steve Duff didn't get the memo that Blood Factory was supposed to be a map 4, because this level wants to beat you up and take your lunch money. Blood Factory has a lot of wide open fights that send monsters after you on the ground level, while others snipe you from the cheap seats. For example, if approached incorrectly, this room with the hit scanners and Macubi can be troublesome. The final fight is a different animal entirely. It's a Gasali-esque death squad of pain elementals, chain gunners, revenants, and 2 archviles. You should have plenty of rockets and cells to take care of everything, and there's abundant cover, but this encounter really clocked me on first go around. I'd give this map a gold star were it not for the secrets, which are vague and not terribly rewarding. Grade A-, difficulty B+. Map 5, Graveyard Shift. Bite-sized and Plutonia-like by way of its limited resources, traps, and nasty placements, Graveyard Shift starts strong, but tapers off sharply when you get to these dark underhalls full of specters and monster closets. At first I thought I was playing poorly or just missed something, but I checked the stats, and this map only gives you 4 medikits and 19 stim packs, no rocket launcher or plasma, and just 68 shells. shells, not including shotgun guys. Making matters worse, you're stuck with a chainsaw if you want to thin out the specters without wasting ammo, which is a pain in the ass. I was under 50% health for most of the map and had to lean heavily on infighting to clear out the chaff. Those tackling graveyard shifting continuous play will probably find it trivial, but from pistol start, it's unmerciful. Grade B-, difficulty B. Map 6, Communications Relay. A worthy successor to TNT Evolution's equally ominous 6th map, Communications Relay gives me Alien Vendetta tech-based vibes, both in its general look and feel and with its relentless traps. Despite its 4 authors, this map is fairly streamlined, never boring, and makes engaging use of secrets. The color-coded rooms are cool, but I always expect the plasma and rocket launcher to be switched, matching the colors of their projectiles. Viscera Maelstrom's MIDI is a phenomenal tone setter, energizing and isolating simultaneously. This invulnerability secret kind of neuters the final fight, but it doesn't diminish the fun of it in the slightest. Grade B+, difficulty B. Map 7, No Man's Station. I can't tell if this MIDI is worthy of its map, or this map is worthy of its MIDI, and that's a good sign. Cannonball and Composer Bucket join forces with exhilarating results here. No Man's Station only stops for breath when you do, and maybe not even. The Archvile interjections are really entertaining. Even the one in the final courtyard where you walk into a massive open-air shootout and he sneakily teleports in behind you. Not much more to say. This is another top-tier, high-pressure tech base with a killer soundtrack. Grade A-, difficulty B. Map 8, Fortress of Bullets. Fortress of Bullets is heavy metal personified, a jib-tastic, blood-fueled action romp. With its 250-plus hit scanners, Fortress of Bullets is an obvious reference to Stronghold, Evolution's Map 9, but it surpasses the original in every way. The map lives up to its title, placing uncommon emphasis on the chain gun by giving you 0 shotgun shells outside of weapon pickups. The pacing of this map is immaculate. You're practically ricocheting from room to the beat of Viscera Maelstrom's whirlwind MIDI. The fortress is spring-loaded with trick walls, teleport traps, and explosive barrels, sometimes a little too close for comfort. Nabbing the red key releases a bevy of chain gunners who slowly close in on you from unexpected directions. The final room goes out in a blaze of glory, and I love this clump of zombie men that comically sprout out of one another. Sin City 2100 and Dobu Gabu Maru's Fortress of Bullets is dynamite, definitely one of Revilution's highlights. Grade A+, difficulty B-. Map 9, Bunker Complex. I've always felt like this map was more akin to Plutonia than TNT, with its inescapable pits, earthy hues, and proclivity for traps, but it's much kinder than anything in that set. Second and third playthroughs went much smoother than my first one. I guess I just got better at Doom, or at least secret hunting. The combat never gets more pitch than this excellent outdoor scrap. And call me crazy, but I think Bunker Complex wants for more Archviles. It feels like this is an older map. The texturing isn't quite as rigorous, and the topography is a bit chunky, but I don't mind the retro look. Grade B, difficulty C. Map 10, Underground Activity. This is the first TNTR map that I'm probably going to skip when I play it again. Like Access Denied, it's on the bloated side, and outside of one notable fight, doesn't make much of an impression in the gameplay department. Gothic and Kaika's tech-based texturing meets with varying degrees of success, and the non-linear key hunt framework doesn't do their pacing any favors. Incidentally, the MIDI also gets on my nerves, but you won't hear me say that again in this episode. The map's centerpiece is referenced by its title. The blue and yellow keys unlock a network of caves where you'll find the red skull and a big ambush. You have plenty of wiggle room, so the low visibility and handful of skulking specters will be your only real issues in this fight, and they can be circumvented by accessing these candle-marked light amp goggles. I don't know why the map makers would allow the key selling point of their climactic battle to be neutralized so easily. If you feel it cheapens the fun, don't use it. Grade B-, difficulty B. Map 11, Porriture. Having seen everything Porriture has to offer after several playthroughs and a lot of squinting at its Doom wiki page, I'm still debating whether its merits outweigh the aggravation it caused me. In this show, we go for 100% kills, which does not necessitate 100% secrets, except in cases like Porriture's, where 50 monsters are hidden away in hard-to-reach sections of the map. Now, Tourniquet clearly knows what he's doing. His map is handsome and spare, and gets a lot of mileage out of relatively few monsters, but some of his decisions really rankle me. This mandatory box platforming section isn't hard, but it is time-consuming, especially if you're making more than one trip through here, and this ledge that leads you to the secret blue key is not only missable, but annoying to jump onto, owing to Doom's fickle collision. It also bothers me that the blue key area happens to house one of Porriture's best fights, and I missed it the first 2 times I played it. In retrospect, Porriture is not the flop I used to think it was, but it's definitely a misfire. Okay, the spaceship is pretty cool. Grade B-, difficulty B. Map 12, Transduction. Transduction. the process by which foreign DNA is introduced into a cell by a virus, as in a virus of the demonic variety. TNT Evilution distinguished itself from the other mainline Doom releases by emphasizing atmosphere, especially sinister atmosphere, in its level design. Fighting off the loneliness and dread becomes part of the challenge as you forage further ahead. Think of Open Season, Crater, Pharaoh, Central Processing, Mount Pain, Wormhole. These maps put your skill and your resolve to the test. They're dark, eerie, and hostile on an ambient level. Transduction carries on this legacy. It's one of the few Doom maps that still has the power to unsettle me, thanks in no small part to the creeping undertow of Eris Falling's MIDI. Without his music, the map would be an entirely different experience and not for the better. Transduction is riddled with secrets and surprises. Like the Evolution map it pays tribute to, the majority of it is optional, but be warned, no matter how much you skip, there's only one way out of this nightmare, and it gives me chills every time I play it. I'm not going to spoil it here. You need to experience the horror for yourself. Transduction is a masterclass in suspense and a beautiful homage to its source material. Grade A+, difficulty C+. Map 13, Hangman's Curse. The nocturnal, laid-back Hangman's Curse is an extraterrestrial tech base without a whole lot of kick to it. Jaws in space seems to have an affinity for ammo chokes and specters. Hangman's Curse is like Graveyard Shift, but a little less severe. I think this computer room with the pointless teleporters is a reference to Evolution Map 19, but I'm not sure. Hangman's Curse passes in the blink of an eye, and it's one of those maps that I think back on occasionally and totally forget what WAD it belongs to. Side note, I think Jaws in space has got to be my favorite Doom alias. Grade B-, difficulty C+. Map 14, Abandoned Port. Steve Duff is a goddamn sadist. Give the man 2 maps and he makes them easily the 2 toughest in the megawads so far. Abandoned Port makes evil use of revenants and chain gunners in wide open spaces, notably in the opening room and in the canal near the exit. Make sure to track down the rocket launcher before hitting this switch that triggers a teleport trap you'll definitely want to run away from, and you'll also need to go secret hunting for the plasma gun. Once again, Duff's secrets are needlessly hard to find, and stuffed with monsters that are optional to the general public, but not to me. These secret fights are all worthwhile, Steve, so why bury them? The open-air triple archvile ending will scorch you if you panic. Hope you've got something stronger than shotgun shells in your pack. Having spent enough time with Abandoned Port, I've grown to appreciate it, but it's an uncharitable first playthrough. Grade B+, difficulty A-. Map 15, Nukage Zone. My own obliviousness is a constant source of amazement for me. It took until this review's writing for me to realize that Nukage Zone is a mishmash of Nukage Processing and Dead Zone, even though in my head I'd already compared it to both of those maps. Anyway, Nukage Zone has been one of my favorite maps in the megawad from the first. It's a tasty blend of kinetic action and exploration with a pinch of vintage sensibility. I don't normally like non-linearity, tricky secrets, and mandatory slumming and damaging liquids, but Nukage Zone executes those things too well for me to ever complain. The map's 8 archviles bring ample thrills, especially this quadruple whammy, for which nowadays I save the secret invulnerability. There's a kind of coziness to this map that may only register to kids who grew up playing Final Doom exclusively, and it's definitely helped along by Bucket's dusky MIDI track. I really like this map. It appeals to me on a level where I don't even feel like I have to justify it to myself, and that's rare. Grade A, difficulty B. Map 31, Anubis. A love letter to TNT's Pharaoh, the grandfather of all Egyptian maps, Anubis is a stellar secret level with several solid encounters and tons of ground to cover. As expansive and potentially confusing as this map may seem, Valkyrie Forest is actually showing a lot of restraint here, believe me. I played Akeldama and a certain other map in this megawad. You'll see when we get to it. Anubis is full of clever nods to its inspiration, but displays more than enough creativity to stand on its own. This spectral bridge to the Megasphere secret is damn cool, and the giant ambushes are pretty harmless but still entertaining to watch. The Mancubus courtyard with the roaming archviles is probably one of the trickiest encounters you'll face, especially if you're under-equipped or not expecting it, and this cyber demon in the pyramid can crimp your style if you let him. I've also grown to love the MIDI, another earworm from Eris Falling. Anubis probably took me over an hour to beat the first time, but a little practice goes a long way. I love it, fake walls and all. Grade A, difficulty B. Map 32, Duality. The amount of fun you have with Duality hinges on how long it takes for its gimmick to start annoying you. For me, it took about 4 minutes, and then I had to play the map again. The gist of it is you're in a green world until you trip a line def that teleports you to a parallel red world until you trip a line def, and so on. This game of dimensional tug-of-war is disorienting and unpleasant, made worse by the mapmaker's love of gotcha moments where you're dropped into fights without warning, and your escape routes are blocked by new monsters. It takes a while to memorize where the teleporters are, and I can't tell you how many times I was trying to get somewhere in one dimension, accidentally crossed into the other one, and then had to fumble my way back to where I started. I might have been able to buy into the map more if the connection between the two realms was less arbitrary than this one's red, this one's green, and also go f*** yourself. There's limitless potential for integrating unwritten narrative into the parallel worlds premise, Going Down's time warp being a shining example, but Duality settles for the bare minimum. Thankfully, the TNTR project leaders reevaluated leaving this map at its original 29 slot. That would have been a mistake. Grade D+, difficulty B+. Map 16, Devil's Den. In my travels across the Doomverse, I've encountered a lot of praise for Devil's Den, with some people going so far as to call it their favorite map. I don't take saying this lightly, because Dobu Gabumaru is a huge name in the community and I respect a great deal of his work, but regarding Devil's Den, I really don't see what all the fuss is about. Taking a step back, the atmosphere in this level is lights out, meaning it's very good, but also very f***ing dark. It's ominous, distinctive, and blends themes quite successfully. The map is secret and puzzle heavy. Being a simpleton, I like the ones where you press colorful switches the correct number of times to raise the stairs to certain goodies. Less appealing is this juggling act with the barriers and bridges controlled by 2 sets of switches, which you get a rocket launcher for solving. Kind of a letdown since there's another one you can get for less work. With the notable exception of this blistering archvile gauntlet in the control room, the combat is cramped and miserable. It boils down to 2 fights. The battle for the red key, which, let me reiterate, is dark, and the final fight in this claustrophobic corridor. God help you if you don't find the plasma or BFG. Now believe me, the brains and creativity behind this map do not go unnoticed. The layout's got feng shui. People who love puzzle maps will find their noggins amicably teased. The start, where you're weak, short on ammo, and ducking behind partitions while archviles try to zap you, is very cool. But from where I'm sitting, all of this still adds up to an overlong, rather sedate experience that punishes you on first playthrough if you don't go exploring, and becomes relatively by the numbers when you know what's coming. Devil's Den has low replayability, and didn't wow me from the outset either. In fact, it always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. If I hadn't found out people like it, I'd have called it an acquired taste. It's the most divisive map in the megawad for me, and I think it deserves a divisive grade. B. Difficulty B-. Map 17, Spider Colony. Spider Colony is an uncomplicated shoot-'em-up with unnerving music and enough brown cave wall textures to make Lunar Mining Project jealous. It's the kind of level where you get a plasma rifle right off the bat, and that's the kind of level I like. I always feel stupid for forgetting you can preemptively crush the Cyber Demon to death if you go for the red key first. The shootout in the Blood Pit gives me flashbacks to last episode, and the final showdown can be greatly simplified by exploiting familial tensions in the Spider household. Spider Colony is good fun. Grade A-, difficulty B. Map 18, Hell's Signs. A faithful and carefully crafted homage to a level I never liked. Hell's Signs is essentially a remix of Evilution's Deepest Reaches set to Eris Falling's reworking of the MIDI Blood Jungle. Eternal takes few creative liberties, including so many references to the original that it's not easy to review the map on its own. Like Deepest Reaches, Hell's Signs is a deliberately convoluted sprawl of caverns, ruins, and craggy open spaces that send the player on a wild goose chase for 3 keys, and concludes with an ambush in a green marble arena. Come to think of it, I really don't know what people like so much about the original. Thankfully, the map is a lot better lit than its inspiration and significantly easier to follow. If map 16 is your favorite TNT level, you'll like Hell's Signs even better. Grade B, difficulty B-. Map 19, The Crash Site. The Crash Site is not a friendly map, and I'm not talking about difficulty. It mistakes confusing, illogical progression for atmosphere. It's underlit, lightly populated, and fond of geology, like Devil's Den's less attractive sister. The Crash Site can go from 0 to 60 in a few bloody seconds, but the action is sporadic owing to its stage 4 what did that switch do disease. The ending forces you to fight a cyber demon and a bunch of teleporting bullshit in a shoebox, which without foresight, cells, and a secret mega armor can really get one's goat. I know it got mine. The Crash Site isn't great, but I played worse. Grade C+, difficulty B+. Map 20, Portal Facility. I'm not sure why I like this one so much. Portal Facility is quiet, spacey, and mostly vacant. Next stop, Hell. Assisted by Eris Falling's splendid MIDI, the map oozes foreboding, but never delivers the punishment it seems to promise. I'm always impressed and somewhat humbled by this huge hangar, though its size ensures that making a wrong turn will lose you some time. Portal Facility nails its tone, but disappoints me in the gameplay department, though the hangar fight with the Cacodemons, 4 Archviles, and Cyber Demon is quite lethal. Obviously, you've got a lot of real estate to work with, but it's deceptive. The Cacos like to block you, and the Archviles move in fast. I beat it on my first try this time, which is atypical. Portal Facility is the perfect transition to Revilution's third act. Grade B+, difficulty B. Map 21, Bloody Garden. Well, we're not in Kansas anymore. Bloody Garden is a massacre, one of the hardest maps in the Megawad without a doubt. It introduces a bloody techno-hell aesthetic that carries through to the end, which is alluded to in the story text. Airdrop loves his dynamic architecture. Watch how the starting area gets recycled into a double Spider Demon boss battle arena. Bloody Garden never once feels sluggish or thrown together. You might find yourself getting turned around once or twice due to the aforementioned structural transformations, but it's rare for progression in a level like this to feel so smooth. You may have noticed there are a lot of cyber demons in this map, 8 to be exact. Luckily, 6 of them are decorative, and can be telefragged if you feel like poking around for some end-of-level secrets. This monster stampede makes my top 3 hardest fights in the Megawad. It's a veritable tsunami of pinkies, hell knights, cacodemons, revenants, mancubi, and later a cyber demon and an archvile. The cacos particularly are a pain in the neck, because they like to fly over your head and muddle your auto-aim, and if the cyber demon shows up too early or in tandem with the archvile, it was nice knowing you. I love this fight. It's a phenomenal ending to a phenomenal unveiling of Revilution's vision of hell. Grade A, difficulty A. Map 22, Pharaoh's Claim. This level is f***ing brilliant. I could name 10 maps in TNTR that I enjoy more than Pharaoh's Claim, but it's so beguiling, detailed, and impressive that playing it feels like a privilege. The map's essentially an elaborate treasure hunt. Shooting 3 special Egyptian buttons opens a secret passage, which you'll need to find 2 eye switches to unblock. The prize is a BFG, and I'll go so far as to say I've never seen a map do a better job of making a secret feel rewarding, both in terms of gameplay and build-up. Also, I like this hieroglyphics puzzle, which I suspect is Dobu Gabumaru's handiwork. Squint through the ivy and hit the right switches or suffer the consequences. Most of this stuff is optional, but I urge you not to skip it, because you'll want to be loaded up for the final fight, which is Arachnotron turrets, a cluster of revenants, flying foes, 2 archviles, and a cyber demon, and all this in a wide open space with light cover. Oh, and don't fall, because there's lava down there. It's one of the hardest fights in the Megawad, and I love it to bits. It's got all the menace of the end of Evilution's administration center, another battle under a blood-red sky, but it's much more evil and constricted. Of course, you can do some digging, find an invulnerability, telefrag the cyber demon, and turn the whole fight into a joke, but I'm not about that life. Awesome map. Grade A, difficulty A-. Map 23, Desolation. With a paltry 79 monsters, Desolation won't ruin your day. It's a no-fuss break map set in a space station on the cusp of subversion. As per usual, don't expect Jaws in space to shower you with ammo. Find the rocket launcher, and you pretty much got it in the bag. This is Jeremy Doyle's last midi in the Megawad, and he goes out swinging. Personally, I appreciate late-stage breathers like this one. Grade B, difficulty C+. Map 24, Red Rum. I never need to play Red Rum again. It is easily the longest and most exhausting part of this Megawad. There are big levels, and then there are levels that sprawl pointlessly on. Red Rum is obviously the latter. It's tangential, grindy, confusing, and even boring. See, Anubis's disorienting moments are always redeemed by its environment being a pleasant place to get lost, but running around Red Rum just hurts my eyes. I found most of the secrets by accident, and none of them tangibly helped me, not even this BFG, which you only get right at the end and have to rocket jump to. Why? Padding out this review with further nitpicks would be hypocritical, and I frankly don't feel like spending another minute on Red Rum anyway. Grade C, difficulty B+. Map 25, Malware. I think this is my least played Revilution map, for no particular reason, I just don't know it that well. It's Cannonball's second map in the set, and in my opinion it's decisively his second best. Malware takes Revilution's bloody techno-hell and spikes it with a little E3 from Ultimate Doom. From a combat perspective, the map is sharpest at its start and end, losing considerable foot speed once you get dug in. If you don't mind your toes getting scalded, Malware is a pretty easy map to move around in. Except for the occasional platforming, it's very user-friendly. After you acquire the red and blue keys, you'll drop into one of the nastier fights in the Megawad, a 2-parter with cacos, revenants, mancubi, arachnos, and archviles. Use your plasma ammo wisely. Grade B-, difficulty B+. Map 26, Revengeneer. Grungy and ferocious, Revengeneer is a bloody scrap metal heap of a map. It stocks only 90 enemies, but thanks to all the pain elementals, that figure can easily balloon to over 200 even with the lost soul limit. The opening goes absolutely ballistic, and things actually intensify from there. The Myonic Donut will throw revenants, mancubi, arachnotrons, hell knights, cacodemons, archviles, and yet more pain elementals into the fray. I disliked this map on first playthrough, but since then I've warmed considerably to high-intensity firefight maps like this. Don't miss this weird secret that bolsters your cell count just enough to exit with ammo to spare. Grade B+, difficulty A-. Map 27, The Visage of Time. From the very first note, the visage of time drips with something sinister, and its sense of the uncanny is matched only by its ferocity. Right off the bat, you're up against sniping chain gunners, troops of revenants, flocks of cacos, pain elementals, and lurking archviles. This area absolutely hammered me on first meeting. Quick thinking, smart movement, and careful ammo management are musts. Tarnsman and Alfonso let you teleport all over the place, which disperses your foes and makes grabbing ammo and weapons easier. It's a fight as fluid as it is unconventional. The map's second stage places you in a chilling, bloody courtyard. It fills with megawads when you grab the red key, and hits you with 4 archviles when you try to leave. Good luck. To obtain the final key and live, dodge the rockets of a distant cyber, plow your way through a teleporting mob, don't miss the secret BFG, and turn Mr. Cybe against his friends. All that's left to do is outsmart the 3 Archies guarding the exit, and you're good to go. The Visage of Time is a visceral, brooding, and punishing experience, but it wouldn't be what it is without Viscera Maelstrom's MIDI, which crawls under your skin and dies there. It's like a knock at your door after midnight, like someone walking on your grave. It might actually be the evilest track I've ever heard in Doom, and if you think I'm exaggerating, play this map in the dark with no one around and the music turned up. All I can say is, something about it is just wrong. It's hard to believe, but the Visage of Time was a last-minute addition to this megawad. Personally, I can't imagine Revilution without it. Grade A+, difficulty A. Map 28, Super Weapon Facility. Pinchy's Super Weapon Facility is a delightful oddity with an eclectic layout and several excellent fights. It's far and away the most populated map in the megawad, but hardly stifling, especially for Map 28. Visually, it's a strange, flamboyant cocktail of colors and themes. It's weird, but definitely distinctive. Normally, I'd use a word like Frankenmap pejoratively here, but Super Weapon Facility swerves into the skid, and Bucket's experimental MIDI gives it a surreal and unearthly aura. It's impressive how little Super Weapon Facility drags for how expansive it is, and I chalk that up to its knack for keeping it fresh in the combat department and the vividness of its landmarks which keep you oriented. Find the BFG secret, which is hinted at in the title, and have yourself a ludicrously good time. I love this map. It's quirky, whimsical, and almost relaxing, like a deep breath before the final blitz. Grade A, difficulty B. Map 29, Across the Blood Sea. Lock and load. This is one of the most propulsive penultimate maps I've ever played. Bloody Garden was great, but Across the Blood Sea is Airdrop's masterstroke, an intoxicating adrenaline factory set to a MIDI that feels like hitting the gas pedal going downhill. It's awesome. Many megawads would situate their longest, most arduous challenge in the 29 slot, but not Revilution. If anything, this map is designed to give you momentum, and the timing could not be better. Fight your way through the base until you make it outside, slaughter anything that gets in your way, and hit this switch to raise the blood levels and initiate the feature fight of the map. Arachnotrons, Mastermind, then a pair of Archviles and a pair of Cyber Demons at once. Seriously, can you imagine Duality taking this map's place? I sure as hell can't. Across the Blood Sea is an instant classic, a slam-dunk crowd pleaser for the ages. Grade A+, difficulty B+. Map 30, Malignata. It's very, very hard to redeem the Icon of Sin. But you know what? I think they did it. Like Evolution's Last Call, Malignata puts the player through a full level before the clash with the Demon Spitter, but outside of that and their torch decorations at the start, the two maps don't have much in common. Malignata introduces 2 de-hacked enemies, the Plasma and Rocket turrets, which are indestructible and very deadly, and also replaces the traditional monster spawner mechanic with single-use spawn cubes that generate random monsters, I think? The fights leading up to the final showdown are fearsome, but somewhat uncomfortable since you're trying to get a read on the new custom elements while they're trying to kill you. I used to really hate this turret obstacle course, but now I kinda like it. The rocket turret corridor is still bullshit though. After the Plasma Palooza and this room full of magma and machinery, there's only one more fight. A throwdown with the Hollow Icon, a digital copy of the biggest demon you've ever seen, backed up on the biggest hard drive you've ever seen. Stay on the move to avoid the turrets, encourage infighting, watch the Archviles, make your rockets count, and if If you need help, don't bother pressing F1 because the combat wombat doesn't care about your problems. This is easily the best icon of Sin map I've ever played, and it's nice to be able to end a megawad on a high note for once. Grade, A-, difficulty, A-. So, TNT Revilution is much better than I remember. I went into this episode thinking I'd be clutching at straws trying to give it compliments because I remember being mentally exhausted after my first time beating it. Turns out, Revilution isn't so much a must-play as a must-replay. There are so many maps in here that I guess nested in my subconscious and only came into their full glory upon revisitation. The run from maps 27 to 30 in particular is legendary. I'm impressed at how well the megawad coalesces given its unconventional development cycle and the sheer number of cooks in the kitchen, and the music is just incredible. Hats off to Bucket, Eris Falling, Viscera Maelstrom, Airdrop, and especially Jeremy Doyle, whose SC55 exports of the midis I used for this video. TNT Revilution comes highly recommended from me. My final grade is an A. So close to an A+. By all rights, it probably deserves one, but I can't quite justify putting it above Alien Vendetta or going down. In terms of difficulty, let's give it a B. TNT Revilution is much harder than the original, but nowhere near as demanding as its companion spiritual sequel, Plutonia 2. Now for my Dean's List. I, honest to God, could not bear to neglect any of the 4 A+ maps, so this episode will have 2 Valedictorians and 2 Salutatorians. The Valedictorians were the 2 maps I considered the most excellent overall, while the Salutatorians were the 2 most entertaining maps in the megawad. So Valedictorian is a tie between Map 12, Transduction, and Map 27, The Visage of Time. The Salutatorian is a tie between Map 8, Fortress of Bullets, and Map 29, Across the Blood Sea. Class President, Map 21, Bloody Garden, and the dunce cap goes to Map 32, Duality. Revilution also qualifies for an honor roll, which I'll read quickly because the script is the longest in Dean of Doom's history. Map 1, Uprising, Map 4, Blood Factory, Map 7, No Man's Station, Map 15, Nukage Zone, Map 31, Anubis, Map 17, Spider Colony, Map 21, Bloody Garden, Map 22, Pharaoh's Claim, Map 28, Superweapon Facility, and Map 30, Malignata. Thank you very much for watching, and please feel free to share your thoughts in the WAD down below. I'd love to hear what you think, and I'll heart your comments to let you know I've read them. Tomorrow is Graduation Day, where we'll put a wrap on the first season of Dean of Doom. This is MountPain27, and I'll see you there.